you. Amy in Rockville, Missouri. Hey, Amy, what's up?
No, Maryland.
Oh, Maryland. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, hi. So, yeah, I want to talk about veganism. I don't know if you're aware of the work of Professor Gary Francione. He's the first law professor to teach animal rights in a law school.
Oh, I'm not at all.
Oh, okay. He has a great argument about the ethics of veganism, and I know you're aware of the environmental and health effects, but he argues for the speciesism involved in moderation, you know, the idea of moderation, the idea of like meatless Mondays or cage-free eggs, and he says, you know, if you agree that eating animal products, and this is as true of meat and as eggs and dairy as it is of meat, is cruel, then if you transferred that to humans, you wouldn't say, well, rape is bad, so we should just rape, you know, occasionally. Or, you know, slavery is bad, so we should just have slavery occasionally, or we should try to have humane slavery. And so, you know, he points out that it's really, you know, you have to confront the cruelty, and once you do that, you really can't talk about moderation.
Yeah. You know, Carl Jung had this notion that some of us are judges and some of us are perceivers. Judges see the world in black and white. They make up about 20% of the population. Perceivers see the world in shades of gray. And in fact, it migrated into the Myers-Briggs test. It's the last letter. You're either a J or a P, a judger or a perceiver. And that seems like a very kind of judger way of looking at it. The extreme examples that you used, you know, of rape and slavery, obviously, you know, these are, you know, or killing, you know, we'll only kill occasionally, but actually we do kill occasionally. You know, the state sanctions killing, at least in those states that have capital punishment, and we have legal killing in the form of war. So apparently there's a middle ground there. With regard to slavery, apparently there's a middle ground with regard to slavery too, because probably, you know, a measurable, consequential portion of the stuff in your home and mine or that we're wearing was made by slave labor. We haven't ended slavery in the United States. We've merely exported it. And, well, you know, rape is a whole different thing.
Right. Okay.
But you know, most cultures eat about 16 to 18% animal protein, if my recollection is correct. It may be that we're just, I was going to say that we're like wired for it, but it's the wrong way to say it. And it's also, I also don't absolutely believe that. The guy who called earlier, who said if you're you know, the meat is a very inefficient way to feed people because, you know, it takes so much, you know, vegetation to make the meat and et cetera, et cetera. That's true of factory farmed meat. But if somebody is hunting in an environment where there's a, you know, a large surplus of animals, you could say no, you know, like deer in Vermont kind of thing. That's actually more efficient, but because they're ruminants. But then on the third hand, there wouldn't be a deer overpopulation problem if we hadn't killed off the top predators, the wolves and the mountain lions.
Right.
And,
right. And I think also when people talk about, you know, factory farming, you know, even in what's considered, quote, humane, like they still kill all the, in case of eggs, they still kill all the male chicks, and sometimes it's through grinding them up alive or suffocating them in a bag. I mean, there's a lot of people think, you know, think that there's, you know, less cruelty or no cruelty with eggs and dairy, and you mentioned, of course, about the cows and mastitis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, you know, I mean, yeah, it's bad that we have slavery still, but we wouldn't advocate. We would try to end it. We wouldn't advocate and say, well, it's okay to have a little.
But we're essentially doing that by importing all this stuff and buying from these countries. I mean, we're trying to, you know, the president's trying to negotiate the TPP with Malaysia, where slavery is still legal. And but I get your point. You know, I absolutely get your point. And I would say that probably any real vegan and I'm not one, who does not wear leather shoes and does not wear a leather belt and that kind of thing, would absolutely agree with you. And I think it's a point that it's pretty hard to rebut. Thanks, Amy.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.